Hi everybody, this is Lorraine Tierney with Chat and Craft with Lorraine Tierney trying again. I don't know if I'm having trouble with my internet. I'm not sure why that video just ended, but hopefully it will not do it again. Let's see if I can find us on Facebook so I can follow along with the comments. It's not coming up on my page just yet, but I'll get started. I was just talking about it being Celebration and a new mini catalog, and you can order lots of things and get free things as well. And tonight we are going to play with the blending brushes. I love these blending brushes. Stampin' Up! Sells them in a pack of 3. Here we go. I found my video. And they're pretty reasonably priced. I think they're about $12 in the pack of 3. You can see I've been using mine with some different colors. We're going to do 3 different techniques tonight with the blending brushes. One with a mask or a circle mask. One with the masks, the decorative masks that Stampin' Up! Sells, and one that uses a wax emboss technique with embossing folders. So I made this one with a stamp set that's been around for a while, free as a bird, to show you that you can do any of these new ones with new stamp sets, with old stamp sets. All of these techniques will work with whatever you happen to have in your stash. But for demonstration, we're going to use a new stamp set. This is the card we're going to make now, and we're going to use the Art Gallery. And I used this one a little bit the other night when we did a stamp your own background and some other cards, but I didn't use this stamp. So tonight we'll use that stamp. So the first thing we are going to do is make a circle that we can use to sponge that circle. So I'm getting some different colored ink pads out. I'm going to have my lightest first and then get a little bit darker. I just got some ink on my finger. Let me grab a baby wipe to try to get that off. Okay. So we need to have a circle on our piece of cardstock. This is just Whisper White, and it's 4 by 5 1/4, the usual size for the front of a card. And I'm going to take a large sticky note. I don't know what size these are. These are 4 by 4. So this is a good size because it covers up the whole base, the mat for our card. And I'm going to take my 2 1/4 inch punch, and I'm going to punch a circle out of it. And I don't want to get rid of the sticky stuff at the top because I want my paper to stick. So I'm going to punch that out. We don't need that anymore. And then I'm going to put this down on my paper. And let's see. I think I want it a little bit lower. I'm off the paper a little bit because I don't want it too low. There we go, right there. And I did bring over a little bit of washi tape, and I'm going to use that if I can get this started. I'm going to use the washi tape. Oh, maybe this wasn't a good one to bring over. Well, here's a little piece just to hold down the edges here. I thought I was buying the sticky notes that were sticky all over, but I didn't. And so I just want a little extra help. So the blending brushes, you don't really have to clean. Some people say you can wash them. I mostly just rub them on the paper to get the extra ink off. And I'm going to keep them, like this is going to be for a certain family of colors. The greens and I have one that has greens on it, one that has blues on it. I may do a yellows eventually, but I don't have enough to have a yellows and the browns or the reds separate right now. So I'm just, these are very soft. They look like they're wet. They are not wet. They're dry. They feel like a very soft makeup brush. And I'm just going to tap a couple of times in my ink, and then I'm going to rub with it. Tap, 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 and rub, just like that. And I'm going to start at the bottom of my circle. And I like to start a little bit off so I don't get a real heavy amount of ink where I first hit the paper. And I'm just lightly going back and forth. I don't need to bear down or press too hard. If I want more color, I just keep going over it. A little tap, tap, and then swirl, swirl, swirl. And I'm going to go a little bit higher than I want the yellow to end so that it blends into my next color. Okay. So you can see how I layered that up and I have a pretty good amount of color now. And I'm going from lighter to darker because I don't mind if a little lighter ink gets into a darker color, but I wouldn't want the opposite to happen. Hi, Kathy. Glad you're here. So now I'm using, that was, by the way, that was Bumblebee. Now I'm using some cinnamon cider, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to get a little bit darker color with the cinnamon cider, and I'm going to go over the yellow just a tad because I want to blend it in. I don't want it to be a stark line, a stark definition. Okay, and now I'm going to wipe that off. You can see there's really not any color coming off anymore, and I'm going to use some terracotta tile. I really like the combination of terracotta tile and the cinnamon cider. And I just tap it off a little bit to start because I don't want it to be really, really bold when I first put it down. And now I'm going to do just a little bit of the terracotta tile over the whole thing just because I want it to be smooth color. I don't want to see too much demarcation. And sometimes you don't think you have a ton of color because you have color on the edge here that softens things and hides things, and then you lift your mask up and it's much darker than you thought it was. So that's probably what we're going to see here. Let me lift this up. And I went off of my paper a little bit, which was not very good. So we're going to have to improvise there a little bit. Real life. I do have one of those mono erasers, which sometimes that will take off a little bit of ink. All right, we'll have to see when it comes time to stamp. We could always stamp on another piece of paper and put it over that, but we will see. All right, so now I'm going to use early espresso and one of the flowers, this more solid flower. You can tell I've been using all of these stamps in here. I just love this set. Hi, Shannon. Thank you for saying hi. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for watching. All right. And so I'm going to get a good coating of ink on this stamp. It is one of those distinctive stamps, so it does have shading on it, so it doesn't look like it has full coverage, but it does. Hi Paula, welcome from Minnesota. Oh, you're probably colder than I am here in New Hampshire. All right, and now I'm going to stamp that at a little bit of an angle right in that circle. And give it a good press. Give it a chance for that ink to transfer. And isn't that beautiful? I love that. Jan, you're right. I do love every stamp set. Mostly. Robin was going to say that too. I was going to say that my Jan had a little advantage. That's my sister, and she might have a little inside information, but I guess if Robin knows it too, then it's pretty obvious. I do. I love to stamp. Oh, Kathy, you're joining the bandwagon. I do love. It's like children. You love all your children. You love all your stamps. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, and this sentiment, I firmly believe that during this pandemic and time of social distancing and not seeing our family or my grandson, that it's time to send more cards and have more reasons or more cards that you just send for no reason, just to say hi, just to connect. And I thought this sentiment, just wanted to send some happy thoughts your way, is perfect for people these days. And this comes from a new stamp set that's in the mini catalog. And I think this is going to be another one of my favorites. It has 3 or 4 different themes. Happy birthday, congratulations, thank you, thinking of you. And then I would call these inside sentiments, but I'm using one on the outside, so you can use them wherever you would like. So that's what we're going to put on the outside. And I think I'm going to go for it and just put it right there, even though I have a little smudge of ink, because I wanted it to be a simple stamping type of card and not have too many layers. So it's important we make these cards, we gotta send them too. So this is like a thinking of you, but a little bit more happy thoughts. Okay, and I have a bit of a halo here around the edge of that stamp. I'm just gonna get that off with my very stained chamois. But don't worry about your chamois getting stained. It doesn't affect the performance. Okay, I'm going to move this a little bit closer to me so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to stamp this on there. Just wanted to send some happy thoughts your way. So you can see where we did the sponging, it melds together very nicely under the stamp set and shows a really nice background and sets that stamp off pretty well. Robin, 8 cards today. Good job. That's awesome. I had 2 go in the mail today, and I have 1 ready for tomorrow. Okay, so now I'm going to put that on a cinnamon cider card base. Just give that a good crease. I'm going to close this ink before I put my hands in it. And I don't think I will put any sentiment on the inside of this. I'm shedding onto my card. Well, that's going to have to go there. But I could, if I need a birthday card, put the happy birthday in the inside rather than having it on the outside. And there we have the card. So that's one technique. You can use a Post-it note to make a mask and you sponge inside it. Gives you a nice clean edge and you can blend your colors. And then when we're done with these colors, I'm just rubbing that off. A little bit of colors coming off, but not too much. There we go. I don't see anything coming off anymore. So that's good, and we'll move on to our second card tonight. So this card, I have a strange question for you. I want to know if you know where your iron is. If you know where your iron is, type yes in the comments. Because we're going to do a little ironing while we make this card. And we need a piece of wax paper. So here's my iron, and I'm going to make sure it's on and heating up. I never know how to turn this on. It doesn't seem to have an on-off button. And I don't iron very much, so I always unplug it and then plug it in again to turn it on. Okay, so my iron is on. Kathy knows where it is. Robin knows where it is. Jan knows where it is. Good job. And we're going to use, so we have a piece of wax paper. We have an embossing folder. I have a piece of copy paper or printer paper, just folded in half. And we're going to use 2 pieces of Whisper White cardstock. And here is a sample of a card that I made with this. I don't know if you can see the detail on the background here. Those are snowflakes. This one has the snowflakes also. And this is called a wax resist or an emboss resist. The video is so delayed I can't tell which way it's best for me to hold this so you can see it. But you're right, Robin, I don't iron my jeans or my hiking clothes. Okay, so I want a piece of wax paper that's just a little bit bigger than my embossing folder. And I'm using the, I had to write it down, Parisian Flourish 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to take my piece of wax paper and I'm going to crumple it up. Nice little ball, all wrinkly. We are not going to iron it just yet. I'm going to straighten it out a little bit and put it in my embossing folder with my straight edge at the top because I want to make sure I get this whole area covered. And then we're going to put that through the emboss and cut machine. See if I can fit all this stuff on here. Okay. And we'll go right through. I'm going to go one way and then back the other way. And now we have imprinted the embossing folder on that piece of wax paper as well. It's pretty cool. Okay. And here comes the magic part of this. We're going to put a piece of Whisper White on top and a piece of Whisper White on the bottom. And I'm actually going to put it between 2 pieces of printer paper because my wax paper is kind of big and I don't want it to stick out and get all over everything else. Okay. And I'm going to put a towel down under here to iron on. Okay. So I have, let me just show you again, I have a piece of Whisper White, then I have the wax paper, and then I have another piece of Whisper White and a sheet of printer paper on top of that. My iron is nice and hot, and I'm going to iron it. And I'm putting a fair amount of pressure on it because we're transferring the wax from that wax paper onto our Whisper White paper in a pattern. And it's going to make a beautiful background. Now when you take your paper apart, you need to remember which side of your Whisper White paper was against the wax paper, because that's the side that has the wax resist on it. So this one was touching this way, and then this one was touching this way. Okay. And we're done with the towel and the wax paper and the iron. Okay. So now I picked some different colors for this. Now we're going to do a little bit of ink blending with the brushes on this one. I picked 3 blues. So I'm going to start again with the lighter one. This is Seaside Spray. Robin, you're going to have to find your iron so that you can do this technique. And I'm just going to do some rubbing on here. And you will see that wax resist start to appear. It's kind of like magic. The handle on the blending brushes is quite flexible, so it feels a little sturdier if you put your finger on the head of it there. I hope you can see this starting to appear. Can you see how beautiful that is? And the fact that we crinkled the paper first gives it more design than just the embossing folder would. You get the embossing folder lines as well as additional crinkle lines. So now I've moved to some Misty Moonlight. And that's a darker color, so you can see the pattern coming out even a little faster, I think. And I'm going to go just a little bit more up here to soften where I'm blending it in. Okay, and then we'll do a little Night of Navy. And I'm just going to, whoops, turn it around. Now, isn't that interesting? That's looking purpley compared to the blues. Well, I guess we have a little purple. Huh. I'm going to go back and add a little more of the Misty Moonlight. Because I really was going for more of a blue look. The ink, the Night of Navy ink, must have some purpley tones to it or something. Okay, but you get the idea. So that's how you get the background to come out. I would probably, I don't know why I have a line here, but I would probably trim this down a little bit and then mat it on a card front so that you wouldn't see that line. This one we are going to turn into a Valentine. I have some other colors ready for that. We are going to use some Melon Mambo, nice bright pink. I thought this would make a great background for a Valentine. So let's see, what color's on my other brush? There's green on my other brush, so I'm going to go with this one. I'm thinking this is closer to red. Okay. And I'm gonna start in the middle on this one and have some of my darker color be in the middle. And that's just popping out immediately. I hope you can see that. It's so cool. And I'm trying to start in the middle and come to the edges so that I can keep the edges just a little bit lighter. Just a little bit different shade of pink. I'll try to layer a little more color right here in the middle to even that out just a tad. The colors look more washed out as I look on my computer monitor to see. This is really a pretty bright pink. And maybe it's the delay and the color will catch up pretty quickly. I do have a little bit of a darker spot there, but we're going to put some things on the front of it, so I think it will be okay. All right, so that's how you can get some different shades of pink. It's a little darker in the middle and lighter on the sides. And then I used, from the heart, there was a heart bundle last year. It's still in the annual catalog. And so I used the heart punches. There's a scalloped heart and a plain heart, and then one of the heart stamps. And I thought I'd put that in the middle there, kind of like this one. I did it in purple also. This one says love you lots. And we'll stamp the arrow, and we'll stamp the sentiment. And we're going to stamp right on the emboss resist. It's very smooth. It's not raised at all. It's not bumpy. You don't have to worry about it being hard to stamp on. And so I think I'll use the Melon Mambo. We'll kind of make it a monochromatic. That looks like it's going to fall off. Hopefully it will not. And I'm going to put my arrow right up through the center. There we go. And I'm going to do the sentiment while I have that ink open, because otherwise I'm going to put my fingers in it again. We're going to do Happy Valentine's Day from the Heart to Heart set. I'm going to stamp this on my scrap paper first to see if I think it's dark enough that it will show up. Yeah, I think it will show up on there. I don't want to go to black. I think that would be too much contrast. There you you go. Happy Valentine's Day. All right, so I'm going to put a little adhesive on the back of this. There we go. And I have ink on my hands. Didn't I say that? Okay. Let me get this messy stamp out of the way there. Okay, and I want a couple of dimensionals to pop that heart up. My dimensionals stuck together. Boy, I'm all thumbs tonight. All thumbs. And I'm going to put this so that it spans that arrow. And we'll put this on the card base. These are just 5.5 by 8.5, and they're scored at 4 1/4. And now I have my first Valentine's card of the year made. Happy Valentine's Day. And I'll just put a sentiment on the inside. This heart to heart has lots of nice ones. Wishing you love and laughter forever after. Our hearts are meant to be together. We're so lucky to have a friend like you. From my heart to yours. There's all kinds of nice ones on that. So I think that's a very pretty Valentine, and I love that background, and the blending brushes make that so easy to do. So the last one that we're going to do uses these masks from Stampin' Up. These are called Basic Pattern Decorative Masks, and they're in the annual catalog, and they're kind of hidden. They're easy to miss. They're in the section that has a ton of stuff on the pages. They're on page 146, and they're a cheap and fun tool to have in your stash. They're $6. They are not a lot of money, and for $6 you get 4 different masks. You get this one, which I think kind of looks like leaves a little bit. I have too much stuff in the way here. There's this one that are trees, almost like an embossing folder that we have. There's polka dots, and the one I used earlier today, which is kind of like flourishes and swirls. Okay, so let me show you what I made earlier today. I did the polka dots on this one, and I did actually used a few different colors of ink on this to do the different shading, and you really can't tell. You could just do a little bit lighter and a little bit darker. And then I used the Darling Donkeys, which is one of the Celebration stamp sets. I think I used it the night before also, and we colored it in, so I didn't want to make you have to watch me color that in again. And I need a card for somebody that has a new grandchild, and it says, "Hello, baby." And so I'll send that one off. And then I made one with the flourishes. And I saw an article earlier today that gray and yellow are the colors of the year. And so I decided to use those 2 colors. But I'm not as crazy about this mask on here. There's a lot of white on it, and I'm in a not so much white space phase, I think. So I think I will try this mask tonight. I love the polka dots. Love, love, love the polka dots, but I want to show you a couple of different things. So I'm using my Stamparatus because the magnets can hold that the mask in place for me. My magnets are wrapped. You saw them just jump together. This one has like blue painter's tape on it, and this one has some washi tape on it. These will attract each other from across the table, and if they're not wrapped, they tend to snap. So, and then they also are easier to pull apart if they're wrapped. If you don't have a Stamparatus, I'll show you what I would do. My hand's clean to do this. So here again, it's just 5 1/4 by 4, and I would put the mask over my paper like this, and then I would use washi tape to hold the mask down, or just some regular Scotch tape, because you're taping it onto the scrap paper. It wouldn't be, don't let the paper, the tape touch your Whisper White piece of paper. But since I have this, I'm going to do it in here, and I can take that off. And I'm going to put my Whisper White in the middle there, and tuck. I'm going to try to get it straight on these lines. Okay, and then hold it down where there's no paper underneath it, because I don't want it to stop me from getting the color where I want it to be. Okay. So I think I'll do the gray again for this one. This is Smoky Slate, and it's actually looking a little bit dark. I re-inked it today because I didn't feel like I was getting any ink, and now it seems to be a little bit dark. And I'm just trying to get a little more blue off this brush. Okay. So I'm going to dab, and then I'm just going to rub right through the mask. And it's a little bit harder to see where you're getting it with this mask, because it's fairly, there's a fair amount of plastic covering up on here. And I can't quite go in circles up at the top because I'm bumping into the edge. But the blending brush is nice and smooth. It doesn't lift up the mask. It doesn't get shredded by the mask. The bristles are so soft and flexible. It just kind of glides over. I'm going to try to do this whole thing. I don't want to take too long. You can also, with these masks, use a sponge brayer. I think I'll grab one of those real quick and just show you. This is a lot like a sponge, but you want to get ink on it all the way around. So I'm not rolling back and forth. I'm just rolling it forward till I get a good coverage of ink. And then I can roll right over this. It's going to be a lot darker. Not sure. We may have to do this again. Not sure I'm going to want it so dark. But we'll see. It's a good experiment. Okay. So I think I like the blending brushes better, and the coverage with the blending brushes is a little bit more varied. I think this is going to be, with the brayer, quite uniform, but you'll be able to see it. I feel like it should go that way. It is pretty, though. The masks are made of a thin plastic. So there's that one. I kind of like it, even with the brayer and the colors. When you're done with your mask, you will want to wipe it down with a baby wipe or wash it, because you've gotten ink on the plastic and it won't really dry on that plastic. It will get all over your hands like it's doing to me, and then you'll get it on places that you don't want it. Okay, so that's going to be our background, and then we're going to have a little piece of the Whisper White. This is just a tiny one, 2 1/8 by 3, and the gray is 2 1/4 by 3 1/8. And we're going to stamp on this and then put it on that. So I thought I would show you another stamp. This is the donkey stamp, which is a free celebration item. If you spend $50, you can pick this, or you could pick the corner bouquet. And these has a smaller and a larger little garden and a flower and a fern. It's very pretty. So I thought we would use the smaller of those two. And when I was using this stamp earlier today, it was one of those stamps that didn't quite stamp completely when I had it on a block. You can see here parts of it are lighter than the others. Part of it is darker. So I decided I would use my Stamparatus. And this is a red rubber stamp. It's thick, so you don't need the piece of foam in your Stamparatus when you use this one. I like to put something behind my plate on my Stamparatus to hold it there. I'm actually going to go this way so you can see. And you always tuck your piece of paper into the corner and put a magnet on it to hold it there. And the Stamparatus will let you re-ink and re-stamp things because it holds your paper so tightly in place you can get it lined up again. And you can't ever do that with a block. So I put my stamp on my paper where I want it, and then I pick it up with the plate, and now I'm going to ink it up. And I'm going to use the same color that I used on this one. It's So Saffron. And the nice thing about the Stamparatus, it allows you to stamp twice, and you almost will never get a halo around the edges with it. So I inked it up, and now I'm going to push it down, and I'm just applying some steady pressure right there. When it's close to the edge, you want to make sure you push it down there, and there it is. But you can see that parts of it are lighter and parts are darker than I'd like. It's not uniform. So I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to put it down again. And hope that I get a more consistent coverage. So that's better. I like that better. It's even. And now I take that off. I will clean that in a bit. And we have our little corner flower, and I'm going to do a sentiment on there. Again, I'm looking for cards to send that are not necessarily birthday or you know, anything like that, just a card that I'm thinking of you. And so this says happy day. So we need more happy days. Here's my little block. Just trying to get that straight. And I'm going to use the smoky slate to do this. And I have that juicy ink pad. Like I said, I re-inked it today, so I got a little bit of a halo. Okay, get rid of that. And now I'm going to put Happy Day. And it's going to go into my flower a little bit. But I think that will be okay. And there we have it. I double checked that the re-inker that I used did say Smoky Slate, because that looks so much darker than I want it to be. And it said it was Smoky Slate. Okay, so now we're going to put this together. I'm going to just use some tape runner, some seal to put that down. I like that mask with this pattern. Okay, and I'm going to put ribbon on this, so don't let me adhere the little piece on top until I get the ribbon around it. There we go. And I have some of the crinkle seam binding. And I already tied my bow because I don't like tying bows on Facebook. And I used one of those bow tiers to help me. So I'm going to cut a little piece of ribbon that's bigger than the paper. And I'm going to put a little twist in it intentionally, like that. Because we're going to attach our bow, and I want to make it look like the bow is actually tied on there. And I put some adhesive down, and I stuck one end in, and then let me put that twist back in there. There we go. And now I'll try to get it straight enough. Put the other end in. And I'm going to pop this up with some dimensionals if I can find them. You should see this table, all that stuff. Yeah, Kathy, the masks are nice. You'll enjoy them, especially with the blending brushes. I know you have some blending brushes. It's a fun background when you don't have anything that matches, or you can do it very light. You can use different colors. It's really fun. Okay, I did this one on the lower corner. I think I'm going to go center on this one. I try to not just do symmetrical, but you know me. I like it symmetrical. Okay, and now I'm going to get a glue dot. And these glue dots are kind of big for this little bow, so I'm just going to roll it up a little bit and try to stick it on the back of that bow. There we go. And put that right on to the ribbon. And now I'll trim these a little bit shorter. Oh, I didn't get the angle I wanted there. This is going to be like bangs, where you just keep cutting them shorter and shorter until you don't have any bangs left. Okay, so there we go. We have another background made by blending brushes and a mask. Oh, I'm glad you like that color combination. These are the colors of the year, roughly, I think. Here's a nice bright Valentine. Here's another example of a Valentine with the purples. And let's see, where did my card with where'd the first card go? Not a good sign. It's buried. Here's the donkey. could see this table, you would know why I can't. Oh, here it is. And here's the other one that we made today. I love that terracotta tile in the cinnamon cider. I love that. So I hope that you found that interesting. I hope you learned a little bit about using masks and using blending brushes and that emboss resist technique. I'm going to make this into a card now too, and I hope you'll give it a try. If you'd like to share this video, I would love it, or give it some hearts, that would be great. If you'd like to order anything so you can make cards like this at home, I'd be happy to help you with that too. You can message me or hit the Shop Now button at the top of Chat and Craft, Lorraine Tierney. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.